good?
Great victory there.
On October 9th, 2022, news outlets reported on a lady who broke her back after jumping into a foam pit at the yearly TwitchCon event. The woman who sustained the severe injuries was identified to be a streamer and adult performer named Adriana Chechik. The jokes wrote themselves as she became known as the adult star who literally broke her back. While this is what launched her name into the mainstream media, most knew essentially nothing about this woman who is actually one of the most peculiar stars in the X-rated industry. So who is Adriana? How did she end up at the TwitchCon foam pit? And did she ever recover? Well, after 100 hours of research, I discovered a twisted tale starting with her in a Russian orphanage, growing up Amish, abandoning her degree in biochemistry, and eventually ending up as an adult performer. And if a single one of these events didn't happen, Miss Chechik might have never wound up paralyzed at a gaming convention. Today, I will tell her full story. But before we go any further with today's video, I just want to show you my 10-month-old King Charles Spaniel Rigby. The reason I'm having him here right now is because he's actually the one going to do the presentation for today's sponsor, The Pet's Table. The Pet's Table is a personalized pet food service brought to you by HelloFresh. The Pet's Table offers both human-grade fresh and gently air-dried options directly to your home. The reason why this is so much better than traditional dog food is because kibble is often highly processed at high temperatures that deplete the food's nutritional value and flavor. Compare that to the Pet's Table, which is minimally processed at low temps. This maintains naturally occurring flavors and nutrients like protein, vitamins, and antioxidants. And I know you're going to question how much it costs, but the truth is that their air-dried plan is actually 40% more affordable than most freshly frozen options. Plus, it's shelf-stable and requires zero prep. Each plan is catered specifically to your dog's needs, providing a complete and balanced diet to support gut health, immunity, vision, healthy skin and coat, and an overall active lifestyle. From what I could tell, my dog absolutely loves the food himself. Get 55% off your first box plus 20% off your second. Just click the link down below or go to thepetstable.com and use code TGFM55. That's thepetstable.com, code TGFM55. Adriana Chechik was born as Desiree Christina Charles on November 4th, 1991 in Russia during the collapse of the Soviet Union, where she grew up in an orphanage until she was 8 months old.
My dad, who adopted me, he used to build like big commercial buildings and stuff over in Europe, and I guess he fell in love with me when he was over there at one of the hospitals or something. My mom was trying to find a baby, so they brought me back at 8 months from Russia.
Her adopted father took her from Russia to Downingtown, PA, a small community just outside of Philadelphia. At first, her adopted parents attempted to raise her, but eventually their marriage fell apart when Adriana was 11. Her adopted mother was a former model for Playboy, and her father eventually gave up his job traveling and opened up a local pest control business. When the couple split, Adriana was claimed by neither guardian and landed in foster care. She would then grow up in the small community, seeing the man who had adopted her around town but would be ignored by him.
I honestly, people like to say, well, you have daddy issues. You didn't have a dad. I'm like, no, I didn't have a dad, so I didn't have daddy issues.
Her mother, on the other hand, would attempt to get custody of Adriana but struggled to provide a stable environment. She was a drug addict and was frequently locked away in mental hospitals. The young girl would spend the majority of her childhood bouncing around to different foster houses. While with these families, she endured being physically abused, neglected, and often used for free labor.
I hated even being in a room with kids because I would be forced to stay home from school to watch all these other kids, these random kids in foster cares all the time.
Sure.
To where it was just like, it was insane.
When she reached middle school, she was reunited with her mother, which turned out to be extremely traumatizing.
I even used to sit in strip clubs with the house moms while she would dance. And I think being around all of that sex actually worked against me. Instead of making it more knowledgeable, it made me fearful to the point where I was like, I don't want to be like this and I don't want to do these type of things.
Eventually, her mother lost custody of her daughter once again, but that wouldn't stop her from having 8 other children, all with different fathers. This isn't to say all of her childhood was miserable. Some of the families that took care of her were part of the Amish community. It was there that she experienced a structured family unit for the first time that taught her proper hygiene such as brushing her hair and teeth. She enjoyed the Mennonites so much that the young girl would purposefully get into trouble so that they would send her to their farm, which was supposed to be a punishment. In school, she participated in band, cheerleading, track, and soccer, which created her competitive drive. Although her grades were not bad, she ended up dropping out of high school, getting her GED, and working at Applebee's. Despite her harsh upbringing, the young woman was doing well for herself and developed strict morals. Adriana believed in God, attended church, and had a deep belief in modesty.
I'd button it all the way up to here, and I get mad at my girlfriends who would unbutton 2 buttons. Because I would just be like, no one deserves to see your chest. Like, that's the Lord's spot. Like, it was insane.
Right.
However, all this changed when she was 18 and developed an attraction to her friend's older brother. Her schoolmate was gung-ho for the affair and oddly took naked pictures of Adriana to send to her brother. The young man was 23 at the time and had known Adriana since she was only 5. Impressed with the pics his sibling sent, the man then texted the teen and they decided to hook up under the context that Adriana claimed to have slept with many other men, and deeply enjoyed activities such as sodomy despite actually being a virgin. Her friend's brother then invited the teen over to hook up.
He tied my hands, and then he put it in my ass before anything else.
Wow.
After this rough deflowering, the young woman broke down and cried, admitting that she was a virgin to the brother, who was horrified. Oddly enough, Adriana reflects positively on this experience, and went on to sleep with this man's best friend 6 days later.
It's weird because so I f***ed his friend only because he went back and like banged his ex-girlfriend while I was there, and I just got like so pissed. I was like, well, f*** it, I'm gonna get my rocks off.
She would then reunite with her friend's brother and attend the same college, Drexel University, studying biochemical engineering together. Things started to go downhill for the couple when the young woman took a job working at a restaurant similar to Hooters.
So I started working there at 18 years old, and I was making great money. Like for East Coast, I made $500 to $1,000 a shift.
This upset her boyfriend, who felt she wasn't giving him enough attention since she was so busy with work and school. Despite claiming that the cheating was her fault, the two soon split when Adriana was 21. At this point, she had befriended several strippers who began working as cocktail waitresses at the local club. Being in this environment every night, she was suddenly drawn to the quick money and party lifestyle. Miss Chechik was clearly tired of the long hours of studying and suddenly felt very free after ending her relationship. The young girl wanted to try new things and get revenge on her ex-boyfriend, who she viewed as holding her back sexually. She wanted to make a drastic change in her life and discover her true self. Because of this, after 2 years at Drexel, Adriana dropped out to pursue stripping full-time in 2011.
And then I started dancing, and I said, go back to school later, let's have some fun now.
She then traveled around the US to different clubs before landing in Miami, Florida at the famous Scarlett's Cabaret. There she worked non-stop, drinking and taking drugs nearly every night in a constant bender.
I got into porn because I was such a crazy stripper. Like I would go in 7 nights a week, love it, do so much cocaine, and I was stripping.
Adriana loved the club atmosphere and found she had a talent for getting customers to spend money on her. In one night, she made $7,200, admitting to some unethical ways of getting these men to open their wallets.
So I'd give them Molly, and then they'd just be so happy. I wouldn't have to get naked or even steal anything. They'd just be like, wow, everything's so beautiful. You look so nice tonight. Here's all this money.
Unfortunately, this lifestyle began to take a toll. She explained how some nights the club would essentially sell the dancers for illegal services. But Adriana doesn't blame the establishment for this practice.
And what's the worst thing that ever happened to me is me getting for hours while some guy's like partying, and I was just like, well, I'm over this, but still doing it. But that's not because they sold me to this guy. It's because I was too weak to say no.
Beyond this, she never saw the sun and began to experience depression due to her terrible sleep schedule. Still, this didn't motivate her to change her ways until Christmas of 2012.
And we were out of cocaine, and we were like looking through her trash can for bags to lick them.
Wow.
And I just remember being like, is this the person I want to be in 10 years?
This was a wake-up call for the stripper. Adriana wanted to find a more stable way of living while still earning enough money to keep up her lifestyle. Also around this time, she frequently attended group sex parties where friends of hers introduced her to an adult film director. At first, she hadn't taken his offer to get into X-rated movies seriously, but after the events of Christmas, she decided to give him a call. This chat went well, and he invited her to come into the studio immediately. Adriana figured since she had no family, there would be no one to disappoint if she went through with the deed.
I've always really thought out my decisions.
Yeah.
Even if I've acted crazy or made the wrong decisions, I've still thought them out. I knew what I was doing. I've always known what I was doing.
In January of 2013, the young woman showed up to set without a stage name. It was then she settled on Adriana Chechik. She took the last name from a horror movie director and decided on the first name Adriana because of it starting with the letter A, meaning her name was always at the top of the adult star casting list. Adriana was terrified when the director explained that her first scene would be with both a man and a woman. Despite going to sex parties, she had somehow never been sexual with a woman before, and worried about being a bad performer.
The director actually had to stop me and be like, "Are you okay?" Because I was trying to take sex stills, but I was like shaking during the sex stills.
As it turned out, the new adult star had nothing to worry about. The scene was received well in the community, and Adriana was booked out for 6 months, which is unheard of for new talent. Miss Chechik claims to have no longer felt depressed after she started this new employment, treating it like a typical 9-to-5. She also had to give up doing drugs since it negatively impacted her performance.
In a way, I think helped save my life and put me on a good structure because my mother was addicted to drugs, is addicted to drugs. People from my family are addicted to drugs, and I'm the only one that's not.
Early on, directors in the industry saw the young woman's star power and began to personally train her to do intense scenes. It was at this point she signed with the top company after only a few months in the space. While she accepted instruction, she refused to live at her manager's house. Because Adriana had made money from being a stripper, she had her own apartment and car and didn't need to be taken care of by this man.
And this guy was trying to make everybody stay in his house. But he wanted everybody, you had chores when you stayed there. So you had to pay $1,000. The more I looked at it, I was like, this is like a very kind of pimping thing.
While her agent claimed to be looking out for her, this turned out not to be the case when it came to her rates, as Adriana soon learned she was being severely underpaid.
And when I went to my new agent, he was like, you know, you're a great talent, but it's really unheard of to be booked out that so far in advance, because I was doing boy girls for $600.
Around the time of getting a new manager, Adriana decided she wanted to plunge into new genres.
Because I think I was like, oh, I want to do anal, and my agent wouldn't let me do anal because I was 6 months into my career.
Despite this, she ended up performing these acts and wondered what else she could do to get more attention. After much training and not even a year in her career, Adriana made US history as the first American to perform, how do I put this without getting banned on YouTube? Triple rectum penetration. Yeah, that works.
Well, one month in porn, I had sex with 42 people.
These extreme feats caused a stir in the adult community, and many other female performers began to feel threatened by Adriana's grand plans.
My main competitor was Bonnie Run.
Right, and she pushed you? She was similarly motivated?
Oh, she was so bitchy to me. So, yeah, because she started dancing with my same agency. And before he would take her on, she had to say she was sorry to me because she actually called me a whore and all these bad names in public.
In 2014, she launched her website to generate more income and worked hard to scheme up different ways to make herself relevant. You see, despite enjoying work in the industry for stability, the pay was significantly lower.
Because I was too busy trying to make it. And even at the same time, I was being controlled by pimps, or I was stuck in my fucking car. There was so many crazy shit that happened.
The performer even admitted that early on she made more money stripping than in her first 3 years of adult work. It became very clear to the starlet that she was going to have to work very hard to become a well-known name, and felt the best way to do this was to create diehard fans. One of the reasons she created such loyal followers was due to her willingness to sleep with fans on occasion. She even made adult news headlines for admitting to finding men to sleep with off of Reddit and Craigslist.
I remember all my fans that I
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I
and
do.
Did you say they better than most male performers?
always.
As if sleeping with Redditors wasn't disgusting enough, she drew massive attention to herself following an interview on The Howard Stern Show. There, Adriana shared a story leaving many disturbed. You see, Miss Chechik explained that at one point in her childhood, she lived with a man who was dating her mother. And despite whatever falling out he had with Adriana's parents, the man still stayed in touch with the young woman throughout the years.
He was like so kind, so nice to me. Like, honestly, I don't think it was ever perverse on his part. He just wanted to be a dad and be a nice guy.
Later, when Adriana entered the adult space, he messaged her saying he was glad the young woman was doing something she enjoyed. They then discovered they were both living nearby each other in Florida, and that he was actually running for mayor in the town he lived in. This is when he invited her out to dinner.
So it wasn't necessarily like, oh, I thought he was hot, I want to f him. It was more like, wow, look at this strong man who's so kind and so nice to me.
Adriana still felt the same attraction to this man that she had when she was younger, and invited him to her hotel room.
After dinner, we went back to my hotel room and hung out, and he was just like joking around, like, let me put your hair up like I did when you were younger. And he started brushing my hair and put it in a ponytail. And one thing led to another, and we did have sex.
Following this event, the man took a selfie with her and sent it to news outlets, because he somehow thought it would be good press for his political campaign. This odd event doesn't seem to creep out the adult star like it has the millions who have heard the anecdote. On top of this, the story doesn't fully add up. For starters, I can't find any picture of her with this man. She never lists his name or anything connecting her to a mayoral race. Then she also consistently calls this secret individual her foster father, which just isn't accurate as he didn't run a foster home, but rather was just dating her mother at the time. And lastly, the dates of her knowing this man switch depending on the year she tells the story, making it all very convoluted. I know I don't have enough proof to actually question the validity of this story. Maybe it's just so degenerate I'm clinging on to the idea that she made it up for attention, but regardless, Adriana's popularity rose from this bizarre account, going somewhat viral. Skipping forward to 2016, things were going well for the adult star, but she still wasn't satisfied. Every year, Adriana attended the AVN Awards hoping to win Performer of the Year, and each of these times she left disappointed.
Okay, so surely this year, Performer of the Year, right? Surely.
I would love to say surely, but I don't mind being underrated because I'm still getting paid.
She did everything in her power to be the best, even making physical sacrifices such as shaving down her back teeth in order to perform better oral. The woman went so far as to refuse medical advice from her doctors following a neck injury.
My orthopedic surgeon, I was telling him like, hey, I really need you to do some ultrasounds, like break down the scar tissue.
Unlike the other performers, Adriana loved to take risks while on set. She crafted a position she coined the Adriana move. By continuing to do this, she would later have to undergo a neck surgery and have pain for years to come. Sadly, despite all of these sacrifices, Adriana did not win Performer of the Year yet again. Frustrated and hurt, the woman soon realized that these awards weren't entirely based off of merit or votes.
I got bypassed being Performer of the Year because I was with an agent that nobody liked, and I'll tell you the truth about AVN. You can buy these awards.
Oh, wow. That's
Politics.
Yeah.
Even worse, the company Adriana worked under, LA Direct Models, along with her agent, Derek Hay, had ruined several relationships within the adult community, and many directors avoided this company because of the bad blood. This meant that Adriana was often not booked because of things she had nothing to do with.
I would show up to set 5 minutes before getting ready to and they would be like, oh my God, we hate your agent. We're only hiring you because you're so good at your job, but like, you'd be so much better without him.
I would just like to point out that Derek Hay would later be accused of sex trafficking in 2020, before taking a plea deal involving perjury and being sentenced to 9 months in jail. Anyway, because of these circumstances, Adriana did not win Performer of the Year, and new girls began outpacing her. She began to feel jealous of the attention they were receiving. The biggest example of this was an up-and-coming star named Lana Rhoades, who signed with Adriana's agency, and the woman was annoyed to learn that she was expected to collaborate with Miss Rhoades. At the time, Miss Chechik, along with other female performers, decided to dislike Lana because she was a vegan. Things hit their boiling point when the LA Direct models all attended the 2017 AVN Awards ceremony in Florida. Adriana was yet again nominated for Performer of the Year, but shrugged it off, feeling like she was unlikely to win, so she wore a cheap outfit and decided to just have fun. To her disbelief, though, she actually won and received a standing ovation from her coworkers. Adriana left the awards ceremony proud of the achievement. Some outlets even reported that Vladimir Putin weighed in on the adult star's success, crediting it to her Russian descent. That night, she drove home with Derek Hay and a few of the other performers. While many of them were happy for Adriana, Lana sat in the back of the limo crying. When asked what was wrong, Miss Rhodes broke down entirely. You might remember this anecdote from my retrospective on Lana Rhodes, but back then I didn't have the full story yet since it was extremely convoluted and poorly documented. That is until I stumbled across a podcast of Adriana telling her side of events.
So are you guys friends now, or did you ever like?
Me and Lana are okay. We did actually get into well, she beat me up. I didn't attack her back. That was fine.
What?
Yeah, she didn't mean to attack me. She meant to attack another girl in the car, and I was the mediator. So she just like literally like went crazy, grabbed my neck, tried to choke me, and then my agent got her and pulled her off of me. So I had all these crazy scratches.
Once they managed to separate the two girls, Lana ran out of the car screaming that she wanted to end her life, and jumped into the alligator-infested bay. The police were then called, who arrested Lana but wanted to interview Adriana about what happened. As it turns out, after doing cocaine for moral support, Adriana tried her best to explain the skirmish to the police. The next day, Miss Chechik took to Twitter sharing the events with her fans. What you see and believe to be true is not who she is. She has physically harmed me and emotionally caused distress. The other performers that were in the car rushed to Adriana's defense. After last night, everyone should know that yes, Lana Rhodes did attack Adriana Chechik after her temper tantrum for not winning an award. And yes, Lana Rhodes is on drugs. She asked for multiple drugs, including heroin over the weekend. This is not a rumor, this is the truth. These events would result in Lana being dropped from LA Direct Models, though to this day Lana stands by her innocence. She was never punched. I was never arrested. The police only came because I fell into the Tampa Bay and they took me to the emergency room. I don't drink hard alcohol and I took shots to be able to go on stage because I'm shy. I didn't know how much you are supposed to drink. No one believed Lana's sob story, especially other adult performers such as Abigail Lee tweeting at Lana, "All that glitter ain't gold, bitch." For years following, the two publicly hated each other, but as she got older, Adriana decided to be the bigger person and reached out to apologize for how she treated Lana, and they made amends. While Adriana would be able to mend relationships following mean tweets, she would not get this chance with fellow adult star August Ames. Many allege that Adriana made August's life a living hell before she took her own life. As the story goes, she publicly tweeted at Miss Ames, calling her homophobic for refusing to work with gay performers because they have a higher chance of being HIV positive. No, he's tested just like everyone else. If you're tested and clean, no need to discriminate. You can, however, say no to someone if you wish, but to say it's due to testing is a lie. If you believe that person's doing something off camera, then agree otherwise, it's just hate. Adriana's fans soon joined the dogpile against August Ames, who was already facing a large hate mob over her comments from other groups. This would soon lead to the 23-year-old taking her own life. This event, along with another controversial tweet from Adriana where she made the observation that "it's only rape if you bitch about it," caused her immense backlash. While these controversies didn't stop Chechik from getting work, her rough demeanor did have an impact on her career. You see, Adriana was deemed so hardcore that many male performers outright refused to be on set with her.
I always vouch for this because people, even within some girls wouldn't want to work with me, or they would be like, "Oh, you're too crazy. You do unprotected stuff."
Instead of toning down her act, she embraced it, going on to in public, put sex toys inside herself at Dave & Buster's, as well as ejaculating on an escalator. I imagine a lot was censored in that sentence, but you get the idea. While in the moment this was free publicity, it had long-term consequences as mainstream brands didn't want to be associated with her.
If I could take anything back in my career, it'd be the public actions that I did that weren't for companies. What I realize now is those moments are actually hindering me from average society wanting to work with me because they only see me in that light.
With more eyes on the adult star than ever before, she would go on to make an appearance on Adam 22's podcast No Jumper in 2019. There she revealed that the now 28-year-old had a boyfriend since 2013. Meaning Adriana had a partner since she started in the adult industry, despite claiming she wasn't dating.
I didn't date anybody my first 5 years of porn because I was too busy trying to make it.
This man, who worked as a computer programmer, had a very unique take on Adriana's career choice.
Yeah.
I have a boyfriend who's like, if you're the best slut, then we'll stay together forever.
Through my research, I discovered she did reference him during an interview with adult director Pierre Woodman in 2015, describing her boyfriend's sexual preferences.
No, he likes it. He's a voyeur, so he wants to watch. So I had my massage for 45 minutes, and then I started getting and then I ended up having a DP with my boyfriend and this random masseuse.
Off topic, but this Woodman guy would later be accused of sexual assault and trafficking. Lana Rhoades also despised this director, but at the time was ignored following her fight with Adriana. Anyway, Adriana's literal cuck boyfriend would be very active in her career, often attending sets with her and giving male performers Viagra before they had sexual intercourse with his girlfriend. While Miss Chechik had been supportive of dating a much older man and having an open relationship, she more recently has condemned this individual for his treatment towards her.
I felt like he was conversationally manipulating me.
Adriana claimed that he would give her drugs such as Adderall and Molly, while also constantly calling her fat. The adult star believes that due to their 20-year age gap, he was too controlling.
Like a lot of the times I went to shoot just because he would tell me to shoot. And looking back on it, like there was no reason for me to be shooting 25 sex scenes a month.
She even went so far as to claim he pushed her to perform sexual acts that she wasn't comfortable with because it was his fantasy. This man was very active in the swinger community and would often bring Adriana around his older swinging friends, where she would engage in off-camera parties. Despite her ending things in 2020, the separation impacted the now almost 30-year-old. She began to increase her Adderall dependence by taking 130 milligrams every day. When this didn't solve her problems, she decided to take mushrooms. Unfortunately, this ate away at her mental health as she began to lose grip on reality.
That really sent me into a loop. I actually went and I was stuck in a mental hospital for like 7 days.
While at this facility, she was forced to share a room with a woman who was a chronic masturbator. While the adult star believes that it was beneficial to end up in the psychiatric ward, she was afraid for her safety and began hallucinating. Following this hospitalization, Adriana put a pause on filming adult content and sought out help from a psychiatrist.
I had a psychiatrist who was trying to tell me I had dissociative disorder and possibly multiple personalities, but she was also taking like $4,000 a month from me.
She quit seeing this professional, but didn't stop her search for better health. This is when she discovered a hormone imbalance and addressed her neck problem as she finally gave her body a break from filming intense scenes.
I have a really fucked up neck now. I have a pinched nerve.
Like a wrestler.
And yeah, my C6 and 7 are out of place. The disc slipped, and then my brain stem actually comes out of pocket a little bit.
While still healing her body and soul, Adriana ended up getting neck and back surgery after injuring herself on a trampoline. And I need to be clear that this is different from the foam pit incident. We'll be getting to that soon. The biggest eyebrow raiser from this incident was that while already under the knife from the fall, she decided to get breast implants, which upset many fans who loved her natural look. With no company to shoot with during the healing process, she started living with her friend and fellow adult star, Megan Rain. The two agreed to make content together for OnlyFans, and Adriana claims that they grew so close they were essentially dating. It was also around this time that Adriana began streaming on the gaming/softcore camgirl site Twitch. The adult star claims to have always loved video games and had no idea she could generate a huge following playing them live. Other streamers such as Aiden Ross capitalized on Adriana's popularity. He invited her onto a dating show with Andrew Tate, and while he expected things to go poorly, the two actually hit it off.
I know you don't want to give probably don't want to give your Instagram out to the world, but if you can get your Instagram on the sly, let me have your Instagram. I'll talk to you there, and I'll show you something.
In fact, Adriana seemed to like Andrew so much that she lied about her relationship to make herself more appealing.
I will say, being in a and I have not had like any real long-term relationships. They've all been quite quick and short.
At this point, most fans knew about her ex-boyfriend, whom she had nearly a decade-long relationship with the two of them going on vacations and owning a dog together. Besides this comment, many criticized her for even speaking to Andrew Tate, leading to Adriana being flooded with even more mainstream media attention. This time, though, people were referring to her as a streamer rather than adult star. Soon she began making more money streaming than she would have from adult content.
It's not just people tipping. So right now I'm making over 50,000 a month. Like I'm no problem.
From Twitch?
Just from subs and stuff. Yes, from Twitch.
With this newfound financial freedom, combined with being single, Adriana decided to quit filming adult content with production companies, and vowed to slow down posting content on her OnlyFans. By early 2022, at 31, Miss Chechik desired a different career path. Or maybe should I say many different career paths.
I entered in the space program.
So I do hope in the next 2 to 3 years, one of my goals is to have an electronics company.
Probably in the next 6 months, I'm gonna go back to college just for a psych degree.
So, I think I want to get into life coaching.
All of these aspirations failed to materialize, and she simply continued to stream and create OnlyFans content. One of the reasons for this may be because Adriana had failed to pay her taxes for the past 7 years, and now owed the government over $1 million. I'm not an accountant, but I actually think the IRS can only go back 7 years, so she probably had never paid her taxes in her life, but that's a story for another day. Things continued to get stressful when Adriana received a heartbreaking call from her long-term computer programmer ex-boyfriend. According to the streamer, she was splitting custody of their beloved dog when the man had taken the canine on a hike. Despite Adriana's reminders not to allow the dog off leash, the man had willingly unhooked her four-legged friend, with them disappearing into the woods. The woman was beyond devastated and rushed to the hiking location, with the search concluding as she discovered a pack of coyotes found her dog first.
Because he was just so awesome. And sometimes I go there and I just lay where I found all this blood because I just want to be close to him.
This was the moment Miss Chechik knew that she would never be back together with this boyfriend again. And finally, after 10 years, she had the strength to end the relationship for good. Unfortunately, Adriana wouldn't even have time to mourn the death of her dog because the most world-altering event in her life would happen just 1 week later. In October of 2022, Twitch held its semi-annual streamer event. Usually these conferences would be pretty low-key with creators flocking to chill and connect with fans and friends. This year though, literally everything seemed to go wrong. You may remember that I did an entire video talking about the disaster of this event when it occurred. But to refresh your memory, this TwitchCon was poorly organized, resulting in several people fainting and even being trampled due to poor crowd management. Twitch had a section of the convention run by Lenovo Legion, the largest PC company in China. Within their booth was a large foam pit with 2 pedestals slightly above the padding below. Both competitors would be given noodles to try to hit off their opponent first. Things started to go wrong quickly, with a streamer named Lock Finesse jumping into the foam, resulting in a dislocated knee and being carted off in a wheelchair. You see, the problem was the foam pit was only 2 feet deep, but gave the illusion of it being much deeper. Even worse underneath was nothing but a concrete floor. Following Lock Finesse's injury, this attraction wasn't even closed, and the event moderators failed to warn people about the peril of participating. A few hours later, our friend Adriana decided to take part in the event. She battled against another streamer before winning the match. To celebrate, she jumped off the pedestal, doing a split in the air before slamming her tailbone into the cold, hard ground. Initially, Adriana says she was okay, but the adult star was anything but. Seconds later, she knew something was very wrong and that she couldn't feel the lower half of her body.
I have the one thing porn prepared me for and anal sex prepared me for was the breathing process to deal with that type of pain.
People immediately began to swarm the injured woman and try to see what was going on. This resulted in Adriana being moved 4 times and her hair being yanked out of her face, causing more damage to her back. Before the EMTs arrived at the event, a random man in the crowd jumped into action, seeing that those around the adult star were making it worse. Eventually, she was taken to the hospital where she needed to get emergency back surgery.
And when I bounced the first time I landed, I heard one crack, right? And then I bounced up. And when I came back down, my whole body came over top of itself. And that's when I heard the big crack. And I remember being in the hospital, and the first thing the doctor said to me, they didn't say that I broke anything. They said I shattered my vertebrae.
What the doctors told her next was shocking. As it turns out, Adriana was unknowingly pregnant and could not receive any pain medication due to this fact. Due to her condition, she was only given Tylenol and ended up having to abort the unborn child, as she couldn't get the back surgery while she was carrying. Following the intense procedure, she was forced to lay flat for a month, and was facing long-term injuries that could potentially impact her career.
I don't think I can squirt anymore since my back injury. I have really bad bladder problems.
Adriana was hopeful that her nerves would regrow and she would be able to have control over her bladder once again. The most positive outcome for the adult star was that she would be able to walk again, since doctors had previously warned her that she could be paralyzed for life. After being released from the hospital, she was put in a back brace, unable to lift more than 5 pounds and needing to do daily physical therapy, all while in immense agony. This pain would begin to grate on the model. Making matters worse, Adriana tried her best to refuse strong pain medication.
So after the first week I was out of the hospital, I stopped pain pills because my mother was addicted to them, so I'm terrified. Even in the hospital.
In an attempt to keep herself from full pain relief and understanding the implications of her situation, Adriana began to wallow. She took to Twitter, releasing an angry message lambasting the adult industry. What if I told you I hated that I did porn? What if I told you I hated that my body is not my own? I'm tired of being a product. I'm not a person and it's really killing me. I don't want to tell my truths because you'll use them against me. I hate that my body is a free commodity. I die a bit every time you use me. The goal was never to do sex work. The goal was to survive and get out of sex work. Even if I enjoyed it, it's always been to grow past it. People were shocked at this, as she had been one of the most positive ambassadors for sex workers on the entire planet. During this time, she secluded herself at her house and streamed as it still brought in money and she found it enjoyable. This moment of peace would soon end, as internet trolls would find her address and begin to swat her.
So I open up the door and I go outside, and as soon as I open up the door and I step 1 foot outside, so they had about 8 cars drive up to my property, and I had over 20 cops with big guns, and it was also SWAT police, so it wasn't your standard police, all pointing guns at me.
This would then become a reoccurring event until Adriana was forced to move and get better security around her house. Nowadays, the police understand her situation, but still are called from time to time due to the sheer volume of calls being made. Once she was finally able to take off her back brace, she decided to go on several podcasts to talk about her experience, and decided to continue giving a more negative viewpoint of the adult industry.
For the most part, you do sex work to get out of sex work.
She also gave out details about the way she had been treated by her previous manager. He would constantly pit her against other girls, calling her fat when she requested a day off. She even suffered a seizure after undergoing such hardcore scenes, resulting in her rectum being torn and needing surgery, stitching it back together. While in the past she had talked about her injuries with pride, that had now changed. Additionally, in years past, the adult star had claimed to have demanded to be sodomized, but she had now changed her tune into claiming she was pushed into it.
Because I think I was like, oh, I want to do anal, and my agent wouldn't let me do because I was 6 months into my career. And then you come in to do another scene and it's like, okay, this is going to be just like a cool boy girl and you're going to get tied up maybe once or twice, right? And I'm like, okay. And then suddenly they're like, okay, well, can you do anal too? And I'm like, I've never done on camera, but they convinced me into it.
By 2023, Adriana continued to proclaim that she would never return to sex work. On top of giving up her career path, she also wanted to settle down and find a monogamous relationship, but was struggling because men were, as she put it, intimidated by her.
I don't think I've ever had and this might be crazy, but I don't think I've ever had true love for myself. So I'd love to find love for myself. I'd love to be happy in my own body.
After a year of rehab, she became sexually active again with the man she hired as her assistant, proclaiming that it was some of the best sex she's ever had, enjoying a 3-minute orgasm. Despite supposedly leaving sex work for good by streaming and returning to a more natural look, this didn't last for very long. While Adriana continued to focus on Twitch streaming, she still found herself in the center of controversy. It all started in early 2023 when streamer Aiden Ross made a controversial suggestion.
I think hot tub streaming should be banned from Twitch. It's soft porn. It's a portal to OnlyFans, it's in the same category as gambling, right? Because it's promoting poison, in the brain, and it's making people addicted to it's feeding their addiction to jerking off, which is a serious problem we have.
Ms. Chechik was quick to respond to Aiden's comments, stating on Twitter, "Says a man who clout chases after sex workers for views. One of the most disrespectful people I have ever met. Him and his team are time wasters with no respect for women or their time." Additionally, Adriana and Amaranth ended their previous friendship on bad terms. Ms. Chechik would go so far as to call Amaranth a fake.
Everything is fake, literally.
Yes, I've been subscribed.
Yeah, so you know that all the BG videos, it's not real.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all fake.
Yes, I do.
Despite her love for gaming, Ms. Chechik felt she was missing something. There was a hole in her life that needed to be filled. She had finally recovered from her back surgery and was regaining confidence in her body since she was able to go to the gym again. With these new developments, Adriana decided that she wasn't actually done with the adult industry like she so strongly said before. With this turn of events, many asked why she decided to come back after publicly lambasting that line of work. She responded with, "What I realized through this whole experience, now that my back has healed and now that I've had time to mentally cope with it and heal, is that I haven't had any overall bad experiences. And I don't hate porn, but I've had bad days like any other job." She ended up signing with a new agency in the spring of 2024, committing to mainstream adult companies. Although she was making her return, Adriana has sworn to take a more elegant approach to her work. A little bit more classy. I'll still be doing all the crazy stuff, but you definitely won't see me doing any public peeing. I don't want anybody to pee on me. Even with her promise to refine her image, many wondered if these rough shoots would be good for her health, both physically and mentally. And as I combed through Adriana's recent Twitter activity, I began to wonder the same thing myself. There she often posts about the amount of physical pain she's in. On top of this, she has tried drastic measures to improve her comfort level, including a slew of drugs. Besides just her back pain, Adriana continues to have trouble keeping her hormones and thyroid balanced. It all paints a picture of a woman that's still trying to figure out her life as she approaches her mid-30s. In conclusion, the more I looked into Adriana, the more depressed I became. As I continue to research women in this line of work, the through lines become more and more clear. The bad childhood, groomed by an older man, the stripper to adult star pipeline, drug abuse problems, not paying taxes, and bold endorsement of the sex work scene before a burnout where they turn their back on the industry and say that it chipped away at their soul. Adriana Chechik has marked all of these boxes, with it clear that she has had a tough life, from foster homes to abuse to needing to terminate her pregnancy for life-saving care. While I won't say that I'm glad she stumbled back into the mainstream adult industry after successfully pivoting to be a live streamer, all I can do is wish her the best and hope that she eventually finds peace in her life. But as long as she continues to produce explicit content, she'll unfortunately be known by most as the adult star who broke her back.